I'm here in Yellowstone at the Old Faithful Lodge, and I'm going to tell you why this is the best place to stay in the park and the only place you should consider. Plus, I'm going to give you one thing to consider about all lodging in Yellowstone that you probably haven't thought about yet. Editors note from the garage. Apparently I spent 3 days at the Old Faithful Inn and still kept calling it the Old Faithful Lodge. The inn and lodge are separate buildings, and this video is about the Old Faithful Inn. Okay, let's continue. The first reason you should stay at Old Faithful Lodge is location. It obviously goes without saying, it is right next to Old Faithful. Old Faithful is a geyser that has been erupting every 90 minutes for the last 500,000 years. Most people who come to Yellowstone get to see it once on their trip, but if you stay at the Old Faithful Lodge, you can see it morning, day, night. I've had breakfast on the porch watching it first thing in the morning. We've got to catch it at the last minute, arriving back at the hotel after a long day out. Our first night here, we just wandered out, so you really get to soak in Old Faithful. Beyond Old Faithful, you're in also the Midway Geyser Basin. So just steps off the front doors of the hotel is a nature walk about a mile that you can see something between 10 and 20 little geysers and other geothermal features right outside the hotel. And the coolest thing is that even from our window, waking up in the morning when it's cold out or going to bed at night, you can see right from the window the steam rising from the geysers, and it is just the coolest thing ever. It's something that you would miss out on if you stay anywhere else in the park. Another thing too is that most people end up staying outside the park for one reason or another. I highly recommend staying inside the park because you don't have to deal with the crowds at the gates getting in every day, the added extra hour drive trying to get in the park. If you stay in the park, and particularly Old Faithful Lodge, you are steps away from the best of Yellowstone. The Old Faithful Lodge is also pretty centrally located in the park. It's just a short drive away from the Grand Prismatic Spring, the Norris Geyser Basin, Yellowstone Lake, and you end up really kind of like minimizing the amount of driving that you can do in the park. Old Faithful Lodge is centrally located, and for that reason, that's one of the reasons why you should stay at the Old Faithful Lodge. Another reason you should consider staying at the Old Faithful Lodge is that you feel like you are a part of history in this lodge. Old Yellowstone was the first national park, and this lodge really makes you feel like you're a part of that history. The lodge was created about 100 years ago, and then from there it's been added on to over the years. So there's an old part of the lodge and a new part of the lodge. In the old part of the lodge, the rooms are usually one double bed with a shared bathroom in the hallway. So if you kind of think maybe like your college dorm experience. For us, we needed two double beds, because we're a family of 4. So we stayed in the new so they put us in the new area of the hotel, and you can see when you're walking down the hallway where that transition happens, and it still feels like you're part of history in there, and you're just steps away from the grand entrance and some of those hallways where it's the ornate woodwork like it's a giant log cabin. But walking around the Old Faithful Lodge, they do such a great job of maintaining that rustic appeal, that log cabin environment. And despite it being totally up to date with modern amenities, they have restaurants, gift shops, coffee shops, this awesome porch that you could sit out and have breakfast and watch Old Faithful on, or play cards and wind down and recap the day with your family. So that's really one of the things I love about the Old Faithful Lodge, and it's unlike any hotel I've been to in the world, because it really doesn't even feel like a hotel. It feels like you're in a giant log cabin that was created 100 years ago and hasn't been touched, and really part of history. Okay, I'm here in the great room at the Old Faithful Lodge, and another thing I want to mention that's a reason to stay here is the cell phone coverage. These past couple days, we have been all over the park, and in pretty much every place we have gone, we have had no cell coverage. Now, that might be something you're looking forward to, Yellowstone. It's certainly something I was looking forward to, disconnecting and really being forced to not have that compulsion to check your phone, get on your laptop Wi-Fi, have your family doing the same. So that was very refreshing. But at the beginning of the day, the end of the night, you want to plan out the next day, maybe preload your GPS with where you need to go. It is really useful having some cell phone network coverage. You can hotspot to your laptop, maybe plan out the itinerary for the day. If you do have to, I've seen a couple people working remotely here, checking in on things. Also, in all these places we've gone, there has not been any Wi-Fi at hotels, including here. So don't come here prepared to check in on the Wi-Fi. But if you do have a phone, and especially one that you can hotspot off to, there is very solid internet coverage here. I have AT&T. It has worked great. I've been able to use my laptop, and that's all I want to, it helps me limit it to just plan out the next day, jot down some memories, and do a little bit of research of what we want the rest of the week, and really helps you maximize that time. So that's another reason here that we, in the other areas we've checked out, Mammoth Hot Springs, the Roosevelt Lodge, Canyon Village, Fishing Bridge, none of those areas have cell phone coverage. But here there is a solid signal, and it's been really useful to have to start off the day, wrap up the day, and just check in, connect, and plan out a couple extra things. Now, another thing about Old Faithful Lodge is its availability of resources. You have everything you could possibly need for your trip right here, from a full-blown restaurant to a bar to a little sandwich shop with coffee to a gift shop, and then there's a secondary building where there's a whole nother general store with a little diner style counter where you can get burgers. There's a gas station, an auto shop, a visitor center. And you could say, sure, there's other places in Yellowstone that are like that as well, and that's true. But when you combine this with everything else, you can really make your base camp here and not even need to leave the area if you wanted. So gas up at the morning, grab your gifts on the way out, get some food. The whole shebang is here. And that is another reason why you should definitely check out and consider staying at the Yellowstone Old Faithful Lodge. Another cool thing is that in this historic building, they actually offer free tours of the building. And this is something I really wanted to do, but we were just a little bit late getting back from Norris Geyser Basin today. We missed the tour by about 15 minutes. So it's like I always say, you gotta save something for next time. But where can you find free stuff within National Park where everything here is overpriced? So they offer tours at 4 different times a day. You can just meet here in the lobby, get a tour of this historic building, and get some fun facts and learn some interesting history about the Old Faithful Lodge. So one final Yellowstone tip for you: buy food before you get here. Not only is the food overpriced here, but it's not great. I don't have a problem paying for expensive food once in a while, especially if you're a captive audience like a sporting event or here in the park. But the dinner we got for what we paid was not great. I think this was a frozen bison burger and a dried out brisket at the buffet. So just a warning, you will save so much money. We cruised through the grocery store down in Jackson, spent about $150, had breakfast and lunch for all the days we were here with snacks, and even stretched it to dinner with some ramen. So don't plan on having a gourmet dinner here. If you want to test out the restaurant once or twice, go for it. Just don't have high expectations. And if you do want to save some money and eat exactly what you want to eat, hit the grocery store before coming in. Okay, so the one secret fact that might have you question whether you want to stay in the Old Faithful Lodge or even any hotel in Yellowstone at all is the fact that none of the hotels have air conditioning. I did not know this before I booked. I guess I could have researched it. I didn't even think to. And right now, Wyoming, over the past few weeks, has been in a heat wave. And luckily, we're at the kind of the tail end of it. But we walked into this room on a hot day, and we were like, where is the AC? And all we were handed was instructions to open the window and a fan. Luckily, we were able to call and request a second fan. But even calling down to the front desk and first asking were there other rooms that had AC, we were then told no hotel in Yellowstone has air conditioning. So if you're planning your trip to the Old Faithful Lodge or any hotel in Yellowstone, be aware that if it's a hot period of summer, you will not have AC. Now it's okay because Yellowstone cooled down to about 50 degrees at night and you're really not in the room much in the daytime. But if you do find yourself with like an early afternoon and time to kill, don't plan on spending it in a room, especially if it's hot out. So that was just something that caught us off guard. I want to make sure you all knew that if you come to Yellowstone, don't expect air conditioning in the room. Now, if you want a pro tip, in the Old Faithful Lodge, 2 places nearby that have air conditioning are the gift shop and the visitor center right next door. So go into the visitor center, watch a movie, see some of the sites and the exhibits, or go down to the gift shop and browse even within the lodge and you can find some air conditioning. Well, this just about wraps up our trip to Yellowstone and my review of the Old Faithful Inn. I truly recommend this hotel. It is by far the best place in the park. If you have an opportunity to come to Yellowstone, you should absolutely consider staying at the Old Faithful Inn. If you enjoy this video and you want to see more Yellowstone, Jackson, Tetons content, as well as a ton of other outdoor trips, it would be nice if you could subscribe, comment, share this video. It really helps build the channel. I hope to see you in the next one.